Hello again, book lovers, and today I'm going to tell you what I thought of Tom Holland's latest magnum opus. It's called Dominion, The Making of the Western Mind. Although in America it's called How Christianity Made the Western Mind, or something similar. Also, Mr. Holland himself has commented on the cover. The English one I've got has got a nice column and the Beatles and some feminist references as Adolf Hitler, Martin Luther King. You'd hardly even know it was about Christianity, but it is. And it follows the same line as Dermot McCulloch's History of Christianity and other recent reviews on this rather broad subject, making the case for the individual society that we live in now being a direct product of Christianity and no other religion. The Times critic Gerard de Groot said maybe that's not true. Maybe it's just the way humanity would have evolved based on the need to work together in order to survive. But even he didn't give it a bad review, and as you've probably realised now, I just don't bother reviewing books that I don't like. So let's have a bit of a puff for Tom. I've already read Persian Fire. I read the Rubicon one. He does a lot of stuff on internet. Seems to me a very intelligent and approachable guy. So, as a fan, here's my input on Dominion. It was nice for me to get another good run through the history, which I'm now getting quite familiar with, but as has often been observed, Mr. Holland is a good writer. He started as a fiction writer and begins each chapter with something rooted in a time and a place, something to pull you in. Let's at random take chapter 7, Exodus 632, Carthage. In the spring of 632, a ship bearing a letter from Caesar glided into the great harbour at Carthage. So ships had been doing since the time of Augustus, generations after, blah, 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 etc. You see what I mean? You're just instantly in a time and a place. You know there's going to be a story told. The rest of the chapter will then expand into one of the aspects of Christianity. To give an example, one chapter title is Mission, then Belief, Charity. We go through, later in the book, persecution, flesh, the attitudes to sex and the body, and later on religion, science. The last chapter being called Woke, indeed, to bring us right up to date. Now, every reader is different. I love very early history. Indeed, that's what Mr. Holland said drew him back into history, was the idea that antiquity's almost a kind of science fiction landscape that you can move through imagining things. But of course it really happened, and if we want to be historians, we want to be as accurate as possible. I only read history really, and let's say books about maybe science, philosophy, sociology, psychology, that kind of thing. I having read history, I've just come to the conclusion that you really don't have to make anything up. The stories, the true stories as they are told, need no embellishment. So anyway, as an early history fan, I enjoyed the very first chapters best. And as I've said on occasion, if I was alive, it isn't really history. So all the stuff about the Beatles and Martin Luther King, well, they have to be in the book, I suppose. But I do feel that Tom Holland is more at home in the ancient world. And in any case, as the Chinese historian famously remarked when asked what he thought about the effects of the French Revolution, it's too early to tell. So any history book that includes very modern history won't have the marvellous hindsight that we modern people have when we're looking back. 520 something pages is obviously not enough to tell us the whole story of Christianity, so we treat it as what it is, a little skim through the early colonies of hermits, the rise of scholasticism, the monasteries, the Crusades, the Copernican revolution in science, modern attitudes to Christianity. I think one of the good insights at the end of the book is that modern attacks on Christianity, principally, although maybe religion in general, are made from a point of view of ethics which were promoted by Christianity. Something I hadn't dedicated enough thought to. But it's an interesting insight. I think Tom Holland is an atheist. I'm 99.9% an atheist, because you never know. So I read it as an atheist and as somebody that's just interested in the history of human thought. Taken as such, this should be a nice little building block to put into that cathedral.